We're moving back into Uvalde and mass shootings, an everyday part of reality here in the United States of America. Okay? We're back. Now, this is going to be emotional, but this is a teacher who was wounded in the shooting. That, yes, and then we'll watch Matthew McConaughey get emotional talking about gun control at the White House as well. But before we do that, we are going to talk about the Uvalde, the teacher that came out and talked about the Uvalde shooting and his personal experiences. Yes, trigger warning for, mentions of gun violence or whatever. Every part of this broadcast is a trigger warning, dog. I'm a fucking political commentator. I just started talking about transphobia and even talked about like child rape and shit in between. And now we're talking about, and now we're going to talk about another, fundamental American truth, which is that mass shootings are impossible to avoid.
A school teacher who was inside Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. He's telling his story for the first time about the day that 19 children and 2 teachers lost their lives.
He spoke to Amy about what happened when the gunman entered his classroom. And now as law enforcement's response faces scrutiny, he's demanding answers and action. Good morning, Amy.
Michael, good morning to you. Arnulfo Reyes says he and his 4th grade class were enjoying end of school year celebrations when the unthinkable happened. That gunman entered his classroom, and we want to warn everyone watching that what Mr. Reyes says, describing what those children went through as they called for help, is extremely difficult to hear.
I said, if I die, don't let it be in vain.
This morning, Arnulfo Reyes, the 4th grade teacher in room 111 at Robb Elementary School, telling his story for the first time as he recovers in the hospital from 2 gunshot wounds hit during the horrific massacre that took 19 students and 2 teachers' lives.
It was our typical morning, and, we ate breakfast together. It was going to be a good day because it was going to be our day of awards. And some kids in my class that hadn't gotten an award all year, we're going to get an award that day.
Reyes says the children were enjoying the end of the year celebration. And while some students went home after the ceremony, 11 from his class stayed behind. They were watching a movie when all of a sudden gunfire rang out.
The kids started asking out loud, Mr. Reyes, what is going on? And I said, I don't know what's going on, but let's go ahead and get under the table. Get under the table and act like you're asleep. As they were doing that, and I was gathering them under the table and told them to act like they were going to sleep, is about the time when I turned around and saw him standing there.
The gunman entering classroom 112 at 11:33 a.m., then making his way into 111 through a connecting door, opening fire. Reyes shot twice, a bullet hitting him in the arm and lung, and a separate one striking his back. The 17-year teaching veteran hitting the ground.
I told my kids to act like they're asleep, so I'm going to act like I'm asleep also. And I prayed and prayed that I would not hear none of my students talk.
Did you thought you were going to die?
Yes, ma'am.
Then, while the gunman was still in the classroom, Reyes hearing police nearby. According to law enforcement, 7 officers were in the building by 11:35 a.m. They took gunfire and retreated. Reyes says a child in the connecting classroom, 112, called out for help.
One of the students from the next door classroom.
This is good imagery to show, by the way. I want you to, once again, fully comprehend that we have our police force is like dressed to the fucking nines, okay? Just tacticaled out, straight the fuck up. They got their fucking guns. They got their magazines. They got their fucking Kevlar level 4 plates on. And yet they got their helmets on. And yet they still can't fucking do shit. Okay? Now, I'm not going to sit here and fucking act like they're supposed to. Okay? But you can't have it both ways. You can't simultaneously claim that you're fucking, jumping in front of bullets and you need all this fucking gear, okay? and you can't even breach, and you can't even fucking stop a shooter. Like, you can't do both of those things at the same time. You can't LARP as like a hero every fucking day and act like you're constantly under attack because I don't know, your frappuccino at Starbucks was your order was fucked over, and you think that was because like some fucking working class dude hates the police for no reason, right? And then not do the one time where you're supposed to be a fucking hero. But I also recognize that they're not supposed to do this. They're human beings. No one is capable of being John Rambo, okay? No one is capable of being John Rambo. A fundamental fact I stress all the time. Are there instances where someone is a hero? Absolutely. But you're not going to be able to fucking perform at that level every single time across the board in every fucking city where a mass shooting might happen. So, what can we do? Well, if you recognize that, cops aren't the fucking heroes that they claim to be, and that the media presents them as, okay? And you also recognize that, like, no human being is like that, okay? And that there's going to be a lot of luck, or there's going to be a lot of, like, right place, right time circumstances that fit in instances where, like, they can successfully thwart a mass shooter. Then there needs to be another systemic solution. That comes from regulating the flow of weapons in this country. That's why I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for disarming and demilitarizing the police, and I'm an advocate for demilitarizing the American population. Okay? If you want to have a gun, and I, as someone who shoots guns, understand that it's fun to shoot guns, okay? You're going to have to go through some background checks. You're going to have to go through rigorous training. You're going to have to demonstrate that you are capable of using this weapon. Okay? That's it. That is an inconvenience. I admit that that's an inconvenience, but I think that that is an inconvenience that is worthwhile. Okay? But unfortunately, because Americans are Ameri-brained, Ameri-fat-brained, and incredibly hyper-individualistic and incredibly selfish, they don't want to even be inconvenienced. They don't want that inconveniencing. They don't want any kind of fucking ban on like. They don't want any kind of like extensive background check. Like if you're going to go on a hunting trip, for example, right? You want to be able to give your fucking weapon to your friend. That loophole is utilized in urban scenarios as well. Just like, for example, Kyle Rittenhouse got off on a technicality, even though he had a long barrel rifle in a state where he was not supposed to, but they used a hunting technicality to say, no, he can actually open carry. Remember that. That's a, American principle. Even if you're going out hunting and you want to give your friend your fucking weapon, you shouldn't be able to do that. You should go to a third party, get a background check ahead of your fucking hunting trip, and only then are you allowed to give your friend your weapon. I think that's a major inconvenience, certainly, but it's one that is worthwhile because it eliminates a loophole that allows people to be able to fucking give weapons to other people who are going to use it. Because all guns that are in circulation are legal at some point, okay? All guns that people use, even if they're using it in the instance of a crime, even if they're using it as even if they fucking stole it from someone, were originally legal guns in circulation. That's it. Fuck no. I'm good with background checks, but not before going hunting every time. Hey, dumbass, if you're going hunting, you probably have a hunting license, don't you? There's a fuckload of rules and regulations that revolve around what you can hunt, where you can hunt, how you can fucking hunt, that you abide by and you don't even fucking consider. I didn't say you have to do a background check every time you go hunting. I said, if you have a friend who doesn't have a gun license, okay, and he wants to come with you, if you're setting up a hunting trip, get him to get a fucking gun license ahead of time. And then you can use it permanently. Holy shit. You don't need guns to mass murder. A car would do the job. I understand that. But there is also a level of incredible fucking safety that you need to demonstrate while driving a car, which has significant more utility for commerce, for everyday existence than a gun does. So shut the fuck up. Do you understand? Like, so what's up? You're trying to stop reasonable gun safety and regulation from happening while pointing at something that is, one, profoundly more impactful on the economy and your everyday existence, a vehicle, okay, especially in the absence of public transit, unfortunately, right? And you're pointing to that fucking, to that industry, to that example that already is heavily regulated. Yeah, I want that level of regulation for guns. If you find that like a car can kill someone, then you should recognize that, yeah, we should have a national gun registry and VIN numbers for all guns and basically a fucking DMV for guns. Because I agree, cars are incredibly fucking dangerous in the hands of people who are unlicensed, who should not be driving that vehicle. Okay? So I agree. I agree with you. There you go.
Was saying, officer, we're in here. And then, but they had already left. And then he got up from behind my desk and he walked over there and he shot over there again.
The gunman going back into room 112 and firing more shots. At 11:58 a.m., children from other classrooms seen evacuating the school. At 12:03 p.m., a child from room 112 calling 911, telling dispatch where she was. By this point, 19 officers were inside the building, but no one went in. At 12:10, 12:13, and 12:16, more 911 calls.
Is there anybody inside of the building? Tom is advising he is in the room full of victims at this moment.
Parents outside begging for police to save the children.
You know that they're kids, right? They're little kids. They don't know how to defend themselves.
You said you were praying. Do you remember what you were praying for? What you were saying in your prayers?
I prayed the Lord's Prayer. I prayed my Hail Mary.
Reyes says eventually he heard officers come back, telling the gunman through the door they want him to come out to talk, that they don't want to hurt.
Why do you think people think they have such a knee-jerk reaction to background checks? Because Americans are fat, lazy, pathetic fucking slobs who don't even want to be inconvenienced and will unironically turn that into a much larger, like, convoluted argument about, their rights or whatever, okay? Their inalienable, constitutionally protected, God-given rights to fucking have a weapon of murder. That's it. That's literally it. They're unironically, if you've ever had a fucking gun nut argument with someone, they will turn around and say, well, the cars are not constitutionally protected. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you saying right now? Okay, who gives a fuck? I wipe my ass with the Constitution, okay? Fuck yourself. It's just, we are pieces of shit. That's why First Amendment rights are not about like Julian Assange. First Amendment rights are not about Chelsea Manning. First Amendment rights are not about Edward Snowden. First Amendment rights are about you being able to say the N-word in public and not get your fucking ass beat, okay? That's the way they operate. These dudes don't care about the government fucking clamping down on free speech or anything like that. They only care about being able to harass like a trans person without any repercussions. That's what they think First Amendment is. And the same thing goes for the Second Amendment. It's not about a fucking well-regulated militia or the modern interpretation of the well-regulated militia that like happens to work along the NRA and the gun manufacturers bottom line and their interests, okay, because they want to keep selling you all this fucking dumb shit. It's actually about, it's actually basically about fucking not being inconvenienced to like have to get a background check, but when you buy a gun, that's it.
Hurt anybody, but then silence again. More 911 calls, including from Reyes' classroom. But it isn't until 12:50 p.m., 1 hour and 17 minutes after the gunman entered the classrooms, that Border Patrol busts in, killing the shooter.
After that, it was just bullets everywhere. And then I just remember Border Patrol saying, get up, and I couldn't get up.
Did you feel abandoned in that moment?
How do you feel about laws that hold gun vendors responsible in the same way that we hold bars for responsible for drunk drivers? Fuck yeah. I am so on board with that. Fuck the gun vendors, dude. Straight up. Gun vendors can suck me, okay? I don't give a fuck. Yeah, absolutely. They should also hold gun manufacturers legally liable for their weapons of murder and the way that they market such weapons. They should hold the NRA responsible for doing a banned gun giveaway, basically offering a fucking starter kit, like a DLC for mass shooting. Hey, do you have an antisocial personality disorder riddled, a teenager in your home? Here you go. Use Daniel's defense, exact same rifle used by Ramos in the fucking Uvalde shooting. That's crazy. You do that, you go to jail, dude. Fuck you, okay? You get sued so fucking hard. They should literally sue the NRA for every dime that they have for holding a banned guns giveaway, okay, in the immediate aftermath of the Uvalde shooting, and then take all those fucking funds and distribute it evenly amongst the victims, okay? And also, you should just go to jail by default. I do think that you should go to jail in general.
By police, by the people who are supposed to protect you?
Absolutely. After everything, I get more angry.
Yeah, well, people in Poland, you need to have a license to have a gun, are agitating for liberating gun laws using that exact argument. You can kill someone with cars, so we should ban cars. Yeah, except, like, you can't ride your AR-15 to work, so that's one. And they don't have additional safety measures for guns in general. And lastly, when people say, like, knife crime, they always talk about, like, why don't we ban knives? Why don't we ban knives? Knives are fucking killing people. Okay, dude, if knives are so fucking deadly and dangerous as it is like a semi-automatic weapon, why isn't the American military using knives in Iraq? Why are they using guns instead? Do you think you can kill multiple people with a knife, like, easily, with ease, dude? Do you think it's easier to apprehend someone with a knife than it is to apprehend someone with a fucking AR-15? Why isn't it? Why isn't it that, like, every fucking military, if the knives are just as deadly as, like, these fucking weapons, why isn't every military using knives? Did they just not know that? I know the chatter is agreeing with me. I'm saying, like, this is what you can use as a counter whenever fucking any dumbass brings up that point. Okay? No one is saying this will eliminate crime in its entirety. No one is saying that this will eliminate violent crime in its entirety. People are just simply trying to make it as hard as possible to do these random acts of horrific violence, okay? Just like whenever people say, oh, well, AR-15s are not responsible for that many fucking gun murders. Okay, dude, I get that. I understand that handguns are significantly more damaging than AR-15s are. But I want to fucking legislate that shit too. I want to make sure that if you have a handgun, you should be able to, show that you have, you can undergo a psych evaluation, okay, to show that you're not going to kill yourself with that fucking gun or others with that fucking gun, then that you have proper safety measures in place in your house and in general, all right? You can't use the existence of one other fucking problem when talking about a different problem. You can't just say, like, well, I don't know, we shouldn't actually stop this house from burning down because, technically, the piping is actually really corroded in the house. There's lead poisoning in the pipes. There's lead in the pipes, so we should just let this house burn down. Like, okay, well, the fucking, stop the house from burning down, idiot. That's not a thing. You can't make that argument in any other fucking situation. False equivalency. Yes, 3 character references from your community as well.
Because you have a bulletproof vest. I had nothing. You're supposed to protect and serve. There is no excuse for their actions. And I will never forgive them.
How many students were in your classroom when the shooter came in?
11 students.
So the shooter killed every single student in your classroom.
Yes, ma'am. that's when I got to thinking, this family lost one. This family lost one. I lost 11 that day. And I just went to my parents and said, I'm sorry. I tried my best with what I was told to do. Please don't be angry.
Maybe Cos will fucking give him a visit too for speaking out against them and openly showcasing disdain for the police and the inaction that they demonstrated in a moment where they were needed the most, in a moment that they claim that they're in regularly, where they do the right thing regularly, which of course is not the case.
Angry with.
For those of you who don't know, by the way, that's literally what they did to one of the parents that actually ran in. One of the parents that was apprehended originally was able to run in and rescue a bunch of children from one of the classrooms. And the cops actually threatened her with a prior unrelated conviction that she had for speaking out to the media and saying that they fucking suck. Because they are brutal thugs, okay? They are jackbooted thugs. They are violent in all of the inappropriate places and not violent when that violent is a necessity, okay?
Reyes says no training could have prepared them for this. Even though the school had extensive protocols, he says laws have to change.
It all happened too fast. Training, no training, all kinds of training. Nothing gets you ready for this. We trained our kids to sit under the table. And that's what I thought of, at the time. But we set them up to be like ducks. You can give us all the training you want, but it's gun laws have to change. It won't never change unless they change the laws.
Reyes says he doesn't think he can ever return to a classroom, but he's making it his mission to honor the lives of his students and 2 of his fellow teachers.
The only thing that I know that I will not let these children and my coworkers die in vain. Absolutely, I will not. I will go anywhere to the end of the world to not let my students die in vain. They didn't deserve this. Nobody in this world deserves this kind of pain. No mother, nobody deserves this. I will go to the end of the world to make sure things get changed.
And it was also really important for Mr. Reyes, for all of you to know that those 2 teachers who lost their lives, his friends, his co-workers, Eva Morales and Irma Garcia, he says they were awesome, amazing educators. And he wants the parents of their students to know that they, too, tried to do everything they could to protect them. So
This is why I said what I said about like the prevalence of mass shooting. The prevalence of mass shootings is going to create like ultimately a unironic base of support, because everyone is touched by mass shootings in America at a certain point. Like it's gonna get to a point where like basically every single person is going to have one level of connection with a mass shooting if we keep this up. You know what I mean? More guns than people, super easy to get fucking guns. Ultimately, is this what it takes? You have to be victim. You have to be a victim in a fucking mass shooting for you to like actually for you to become a voting bloc, like a legitimate voting bloc.
he says, yes, you heard that it's his mission. He wants to see change. He really wants to see the legal age to buy a gun raised. He thinks that will go a long way. And also, I just want to send out my love and thoughts and prayers to him, because he's going back into surgery today. He's already had multiple surgeries. He has a very long road to physical recovery. Mentally, I don't know that he'll ever get there.
Why he kept saying over and over again, please let the parents know I did everything that I could. He did not have a bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
The others did. And there's so much more to the interview that we could not share because it was so...
There was not a dry eye in the room where we were shooting that, because there's no way you can't hear what Mr. Reyes has to say, what he lived through, and not feel and hopefully want to take some sort of action. I mean, we've if not now, when? You know, we've said that so many times.
It's just heartbreaking.
If you can't hear that and want to make a...
Yeah, I don't really care about what they have to